Science news often brings exciting headlines about new discoveries and the large scale research instruments behind them. The instruments make the discoveries possible, but what makes the instruments possible? The answer is more complex than simply scientists and engineers. While science and engineering create the instrument itself, bringing these ambitious projects to life requires a much broader network of expertise, collaboration, and support. Communications professionals build the human infrastructure that make the actual construction possible, engaging stakeholders, building public understanding, and fostering the connections needed to move from concept to construction. Hi all, welcome back to Beyond the Breakthrough, where we talk with experts about key contributions to scientific discoveries and technological advancements. I'm your host, Kelsey Underwood. The Next Generation Very Large Array, or ngVLA, is a great example of the human infrastructure required to bring a massive, cutting-edge science facility to life, and the value communications brings to that process. Led by the U.S. National Science Foundation's National Radio Astronomy Observatory, the ngVLA is a proposed radio astronomy facility that will feature an array of over 260 antennas across North America and provide 10 times the sensitivity and spatial resolution of the current Very Large Array located in Socorro, New Mexico. So what kinds of communications happen before the groundbreaking science, and even before the facility exists? Who are the audiences that communications personnel need to engage before an instrument is built? And how do these conversations shape the future of a project? This month, I sat down with Corrina Jaramillo Feldman, a senior public information officer for the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, to find out. We talked about the divide between science and the general public, the importance of two-way communication in science, and key benefits of the ngVLA. Before we begin, please note, the Very Large Array and the National Radio Astronomy Observatory are facilities of the U.S. National Science Foundation, operated under cooperative agreement with Associated Universities Incorporated. The opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the NSF. Now let's meet Corrina.
Communications is the way to get those really important pieces of our society into the general public so that everyone has access. So I would say that I use my astronomy background to sort of ensure scientific efficacy and accuracy in my writing and in the way I portray things in other mediums. But I use my intercultural communications hat so that I make sure that what I'm saying can reach a very broad audience, and everyone, regardless of cultural or educational background, has the opportunity to effectively absorb that information.
Corrina has been with the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, or NRAO, since 2023 and has spent most of that time serving as the Senior Public Information Officer for the ngVLA, along with the Very Large Array and the Very Long Baseline Array.
A typical day for me looks like writing science press releases, copy for various assets, and doing government affairs and stakeholder engagement strategic planning. Both on the press side and in this community engagement work, it's a lot of being out in the community and being around people all the time.
Although Corrina began her career in politics, astronomy has been an interest of hers since she was young, leading her to earn an associate's degree in astrophysics and intercultural communication from Central New Mexico Community College. Corrina's career eventually pivoted from her initial interest in becoming a science teacher, but her work in both politics and science aligns with her passion for increasing access to information, especially for topics that can sometimes be perceived as out of reach for certain groups.
The divide between the general public and the scientific community is not actually in interest. It is only in access. So it's actually not that the general public doesn't care about science or doesn't want to be involved in science.
A multi-generation native of New Mexico, Corrina is most passionate about educating her state on radio astronomy and the Very Large Array, and instilling regional pride within her community.
It feels really important to me to try to show as many people as possible, we have this amazing thing in our backyard, and this is one of those special, unique things that makes New Mexico incredible.
The awe-inspiring Very Large Array and its dark sky are perfectly described by the state's nickname, the Land of Enchantment.
The Very Large Array, or the VLA, is the world's premier radio astronomy instrument still. It has been around for a long time. It is 26 antennas in a radio antennas in a Y shape on the plains of San Agustin. Yeah, they're huge. Walking up to one, it's just this behemoth and it's making all kinds of sounds because of the HVAC and cryo pumping all the time. And it's just this very like alien, cool, imposing structure. And then when you look out and like see them all lined up across the desert, it just takes your breath away.
The ngVLA's core will stand in the same place as the VLA and spiral out across the southwest United States, Canada, and Mexico, while also incorporating the Very Long Baseline Array, which encompasses 10 radio telescopes from Hawaii to the US Virgin Islands. This massive geographic footprint means that ngVLA will become part of many communities. So even before the full system is built, Karina is working to build relationships with the people who will be connected to the project. That means not only informing the public and other stakeholders, but listening to them too.
We need the public to be excited, the general public. We also need stakeholders whose land or communities or scientific observation prospects are going to be impacted by this new instrument. We need their buy-in as well, and we need their support in standing up this instrument. And then on the other side of things, we also need to educate everyone so that folks know what's coming in their community and can ask questions about it. And it's not just necessarily educating about what a radio instrument in your community will do, but it's also what kind of jobs are there going to be? What kind of K through 12 STEM education opportunities are going to come along with a brand new giant telescope in your neighborhood? And then also, what does this mean for ranchers, for people like what is there an environmental impact? Like what do all those things mean?
The answers to these questions matter to a lot of different groups. There's the people who help make the project possible, including funders, government agencies, elected officials, and the scientific community. There's also the people in communities who may be directly affected by the project, including local residents, landowners, ranchers and agricultural workers, tribal nations, neighborhood associations, environmental and conservation groups, and local businesses. And last, there's people who want to understand what the project could mean for them, including educators and students, job seekers, the media, and the general public. And this list is likely much more extensive than even this. One way that NRIO is engaging many of these groups is through semi annual community listening sessions in different cities across the state of New Mexico, which are designed to reach a wide range of communities and attendees.
We have folks in leadership for the ngVLA project give a presentation about the science, about the infrastructure, about all of the things that I mentioned before, education, job opportunities, New Mexico economic impact, all of those things. And then we actually have a predetermined Q&A section where folks can ask questions after they've taken in this information. And then we also use it as a networking opportunity so that folks can reach out to someone like me if later on they have questions about the project. They already have a connection to the observatory.
And the feedback from those sessions is also being documented and tracked.
As this moves into something with more data, I think that we will start to do some data evaluation with the questions and answers. As of right now, what our process is just recording. So we record the meetings, we live stream them, we save the recorded live streams, and then we also document the questions and answers from each location to sort of track what people are asking in what parts of the state.
Just like you wouldn't speak to your supervisor, coworker, and friend in the exact same way, Karina and her team's approach to communicating with each of these groups must be different too.
One of our stakeholder groups is like local elected officials, and communicating with those folks as opposed to, for example, folks at the listening sessions is really different because the local elected officials are looking for really specific numbers. They want to drive deep into details, but they also don't want a 10,000 page document that they'll never read. So you have to give them all of the specifics that they're looking for. You have to intuitively kind of know what those specifics are. And you have to prepare it in like a 2-minute elevator pitch that they can listen to as you're like crossing paths in the roundhouse in the Capitol building. Whereas when you're talking to the general public, there's a lot more ability to both talk at a high level and in more general terms and dive deep into specific, particularly scientific details, if that's where people want to go. So you have to be prepared to alter your approach when talking to both of these groups of people. But the way that you attack the project is really, really different because from this perspective of approaching the general public, you want to be as accessible as possible and also as exciting and interesting as possible. Whereas on the elected official side, you want to be as effective as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time.
Whether pitching the ngVLA to elected officials or community members, Karina says her top three talking points are always the same. First, there's what the ngVLA could make possible for science.
And the ngVLA is the opportunity to have the radio equivalent of the James Webb telescope in our backyard in New Mexico. It is going to be the most powerful radio instrument in the world. And that's a really big deal. We're going to be able to watch terrestrial planets being formed around other stars. Like it's going to change science forever.
In other words, while NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, the largest, most powerful space telescope ever built, explores the universe from space using infrared light, the ngVLA would bring similar next generation capabilities to radio astronomy from the ground. Second, there's the potential economic impact, including hundreds of new jobs. And those jobs go far beyond the scientists and engineers we traditionally associate with a major research facility.
And that's everything from scientists and engineers and project managers all the way to all of the tradespeople that are going to be needed to actually build and maintain the antennas themselves. So that's carpenters, machinists, HVAC, cryo, and like even auto technicians.
And third, there are the educational and workforce development opportunities it could provide.
There are going to be so many educational opportunities that come out of the ngVLA being built. We are currently in development of one of the world's premier K-12 extracurricular STEM education programs. And we're also working on a workforce development component so that folks can do apprenticeships and training programs to then work in these fields where we often have a hard time recruiting, right? It's not always easy to hire in science, particularly in these like science specific trades jobs.
Plans for the Next Generation Learning Center are also underway. The nearly 15,000 square foot education and visitor facility is projected to serve 10,000 students annually, with interactive exhibits, classrooms, and rooftop viewing decks. Construction is slated to begin in 2027. Due to the immense scale, geographic contribution, and precision engineering needed, the timeline for standing up the ngVLA is much more involved.
We're looking at decades, right? So this is not necessarily even like a 5 to 7 year project. Like this is like a 20-year timeline from start to finish, and that I would say is the minimum.
While the ngVLA project is definitely a marathon rather than a sprint, the work didn't just begin. The initial concept for the instrument was launched in 2015, and the prototype antenna was officially handed over from its manufacturer, MTEX, last year.
And now I think the most recent update for ngVLA that I can share is that we were able to get like first fringes, first light on that prototype antenna when it was integrated with the Very Large Array.
First light is similar to a ship's maiden voyage. It's an astronomical milestone that occurs when a new telescope or instrument captures its very first data from outer space. While first light and test observations that follow don't often result in groundbreaking discoveries, they are of great importance, helping engineers identify and fix flaws.
Next steps are going to be really finalizing the prototype, continuing scientific testing and integration testing with the VLA, also determination of sites across the country and finalizing where those are going to be, and then building more antennas once those things are finalized.
While this work continues, visitors are welcome to view the ngVLA prototype antenna from the observation deck of the Very Large Arrays Visitor Center and speak with staff to learn more. Corrina also encourages New Mexico residents to keep an eye out for future listening sessions in their area. Both are opportunities to learn more, ask questions, and connect with the science happening in their community.
You don't have to have a PhD, and you also don't have to know anything about it. It doesn't matter if you're 6 months old or in your 90s. Everyone can benefit from close access to science. And I hope that that inspires some folks to engage in scientific opportunities in their community.
What a great conversation with Corrina. As we've learned today, the ngVLA will open new possibilities for astronomy and our understanding of the universe. But its impact will extend far beyond science. This project will create jobs, support education and workforce development, and engage communities across North America. It takes a diverse team of scientists, engineers, technicians, architects, skilled trade specialists, and yes, communicators, along with so many others to make a project of this scale possible. To Corrina and the rest of the staff who are involved, thank you for your hard work and dedication. If you're interested in learning more about the ngVLA, please visit public.nrao.edu/ngVLA. On the NRA website, you'll also find information about the Very Large Array, including visitor information. All of these links are also available in our show notes. And to stay up to date on all the latest AUI breakthroughs and news, follow AUI at Discover AUI on Instagram and Associated Universities Inc. on Facebook and LinkedIn, or visit aui.edu. If you'd like to be notified about new Beyond the Breakthrough episodes and bonus content, be sure to subscribe where you're listening. And if you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review to let us know. That wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for listening in, and I will see you next time.